What's up, guys? It's Chris here to talk about, you guessed it, the big fight between Floyd Mayweather Jr., even though he ain't no junior, and Victor Ortiz, vicious Victor Ortiz. I guess it's Money Mayweather, my bad. Vicious Victor Ortiz going down this Saturday night. Actually, a pretty good card overall. Unfortunately, of course, Eric Morales was originally scheduled upon Lucas Matisse fell off. Now he's being replaced by some guy named Cano. Never heard of him. So Morales should win that fight. Plus, you got Sal Canelo Alvarez taking on Fonzo Gomez. I think most people, like myself, favor Canelo in that fight, but it still should be a little fun scrap while it lasts. Probably go the distance, in my opinion, because Gomez is tough, if nothing else. But the main event is obviously the main reason most people watching the fight, although a lot of fans out of Mexico are possibly watching the fight because of Canelo Alvarez, but a lot of the fans watching this video, anyone watching this video is probably in it for the main event, like myself. WBC, what is it, welterweight champion? Man, why did that even slip my mind for a second? Victor Ortiz defended his title against Floyd Mayweather. Of course, Victor won the title off Andre Berto earlier this year in one of the better action fights of the year. By far, a bit of an upset, I guess. As for Floyd, he's coming off the unanimous win of Shane Mosley. Was that like over a year ago at this point now? But, you know, Floyd is probably the one fighter in the sport that when you worry about time out of the ring and potential ring rust, he's the one fighter you don't really worry about that being a problem at all. He's shown time and time again it hasn't been an issue in his fights. As for this fight, of course we have HBO 24/7, and I have said time and time again on videos of mine that whenever HBO, no, I mean this is not a factual, there's not a direct correlation here, but in my opinion, and for whatever reason, it's for the most part proven true, whenever there is an HBO 24/7 accompanying a fight, as much as they build it up to be competitive, it turns out to be a one-sided fight. That just has been the case time and time again. I know people say that Oscar De La Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather was a close fight, competitive fight. It was competitive early, but ultimately it was Floyd Mayweather, you know, won going away. Let's say that. So as for this fight, if all holds true, that pattern of HBO 24/7 turning into one-sided fights, then you definitely got to favor Floyd Mayweather. I mean, that's not my pick, you know, but I'm just saying, if that pattern holds true and it's going to be a one-sided fight, you definitely got to go with Floyd Mayweather. I mean, what are the chances that Victor Ortiz is going to dominate Floyd Mayweather in any fashion? Unlikely. So if that pattern holds true for whatever reason, then Floyd Mayweather will win this fight. Obviously, he's undefeated on this 24/7, but then he's undefeated in his career. But as for the fight itself, man, I love the Victor Ortiz-Andre Berto fight. Great fight. You know, but one thing I didn't realize about that fight until it was mentioned on this past weekend's HBO broadcast is that Victor Ortiz threw no jabs in that fight. That is not going to cut it against a fighter of Floyd Mayweather's caliber. Floyd Mayweather is a great technical fighter as well as a great defensive fighter. If Victor Ortiz just plans on coming in and winging all day long to the head and the body, Floyd is obviously going to defend well against the ropes. We've seen that time again. But Floyd is going to use his own jab and slight reach advantage to pick Victor apart and pile up points. I'm not saying he's going to beat up Victor Ortiz, but he'll definitely get the better of him round by round if Victor doesn't mix in some jabs in the rounds or when he's in the offensive mode. I guess it's easy to say Floyd's going to win this fight because you figure the only way that Victor can win this fight more than likely is by landing a shot, hurting Floyd, and taking him out. And obviously that has not yet happened to Floyd in his career. What you can take, if nothing else, from the Shane Mosley-Floyd Mayweather fight is the fact that Floyd Mayweather was hurt in the second round by Shane Mosley. He was hurt, and for whatever reason, who knows the reason, Shane Mosley let Floyd off the hook. Not to say he would have necessarily finished Floyd if he would have put his foot on the gas, so to speak, but he never attempted it. He hurt Floyd and more or less, you know, tried a couple of shots, missed, and then just let Floyd, I should say, didn't let Floyd. Floyd recovered his faculties and dominated the entire fight the rest of the way, the next, 9 rounds, whatever it was, 10 rounds. If Victor Ortiz, who is probably faster than Shane Mosley at this stage of his career, I don't know if he's a bigger hitter necessarily, probably someone on par with Shane Mosley. If he is able to hurt Floyd Mayweather, particularly early on in the fight, he is not going to let Floyd off the hook. He's going to go for the kill. He may get it, he may not. We've seen in the Maidana fight, it didn't really work out for him so well, but he did go for it. And he went for it in the Berto fight as well. Granted, he didn't finish Berto, but he did knock him down on a couple occasions and was able to hurt him a couple times in the fight. So we do know that Victor Ortiz definitely got some power, and I think he's a bigger hitter at welterweight than he was at junior welterweight. I guess the bad things against Victor Ortiz is, of course, the Maidana loss, but I don't think that style factors in at all here against Floyd Mayweather. You can look at the fights against Lamont Peterson, which was a draw, his fight before the Berto fight. That's definitely not something that's not a positive going up against Floyd Mayweather. The fact they drew with Lamont Peterson, no disrespect, Lamont Peterson is one of my favorite fighters at the moment. In the Berto fight, he won, Victor Ortiz won, but it was a life and death fight. It was a back and forth fight. Maybe not life and death, but it was back and forth, and he was on his ass hurt, in what was it, the 6th, 7th round. Once again, I believe Berto hits harder than Floyd, so I don't know if that's necessarily going to be an issue for Victor Ortiz in this fight, but the fact that he struggled so much against Andre Berto and other opponents in the past, it's hard for me to envision him taking out Floyd Mayweather unless, like I said, it's by he catches him and is able to, just finish him off. But, of course, Floyd, great fighter and a great matchmaker. Floyd, much like Freddie Richman and Pacquiao, they seem to pick out opponents that are just, I don't want to say tailor-made necessarily for their style, but they have stylistic advantages in, and when they fight, you see that in the ring. Floyd, still the faster fighter here. Definitely the better defensive fighter. Definitely the better technical fighter, as I've already said. I expect Victor Ortiz to come out hard. If he's smart, he'll go to the body. You've got to try to slow Floyd down. He's not going to turn around. He's not going to turn his style around and just start going jab crazy or utilizing it effectively like Oscar De La Hoya did against Floyd Mayweather in the early rounds of their fight. So, if nothing else, just go for it early. Try to go to the body. Try to slow him down. Try to cut off the ring. And when you're in the ropes, even if you're not landing things effectively or Floyd's picking off your shots, keep winging, unless you get caught or get hurt with something, because your other chance is outboxing Floyd over the distance, and that's not going to happen. Definitely not going to happen. So, as for Floyd, just do what Floyd does. I mean, on the real, he's on the ropes. He's not even getting hit half the time. In the middle of the ring, he's out jabbing you. He's out boxing you. He's out maneuvering you. And I expect him to do the same here for the most part. Honestly, I'm a fan of Victor Ortiz. I'm not really a fan of Floyd Mayweather. Never really have been, but got nothing against the guy. I'm not just a fan of his personality. But, he plays that up to on HBO 24/7. If you dislike him, he's going to give you even more reasons to dislike him. And if you like him, the same thing goes, the same logic applies, I guess. As for Victor Ortiz, I kind of just like the way he was raised. I know we've heard it time and time again, but seems like a humble guy in spite of the things he's coming up upon or things he's gone through and, the success he's had as of recently. So, but either way, I'm going Floyd Mayweather winning this fight by unanimous decision. I don't think he'll stop Victor Ortiz in spite of what Floyd's saying he's going to go for the stoppage. If he couldn't stop old ass Shane Mosley, who was in survival mode, I don't necessarily think he's going to stop Victor Ortiz. Not saying he can't, because Victor is very aggressive and he can get caught coming in with the counter shot, but I think there's to go the distance. And I got to go with Floyd. I think Victor might be able to give him some trouble early on. And like I said, you never know if you can catch him with a shot, but ultimately, it's hard to pick against Floyd at this stage of his career until you see him lose a fight or see some real vulnerability. So I'm going to go with Floyd Mayweather to win this fight by unanimous decision. Anyways, want to get your thoughts on the fight? Who do you favor and why? And not only that, but who would you like to see win? Would you like to see Victor Ortiz win? Or do you think it's good for the sport to have Floyd Mayweather continue to win in a potential Manny Pacquiao fight, which I believe will never happen? Or would you like to see Floyd get his mouth shut, see a new young fighter come up in Victor Ortiz? So, what are your guys' thoughts on who you think's going to win and why, and who you would like to win and why? That's it for now. We talked about this Founders Day Science of Violence radio show. If you didn't get a chance to check that out, link in the information part of the video as always, as well as link to scienceofviolence.com and my Twitter. So for now, guys, until next time,